Back home, Marilise dropped Azazel off in the forest. To Dean's surprise, his friend had stopped being paranoid about the Watcher escaping from them, and if Dean had doubted it before, now he was convinced of Azazel being no danger. After being seemingly rejected by his own son, Azazel hadn't talked. His only response to Marilise's threats had been the disinterested look and the assumption that they should just put him back into his cell. Being a father himself, Dean felt painfully sorry for the Watcher. He didn't know how he would go on if his family would suddenly turn to dust before his very own eyes. Sitting in front of his house, he saw the devil pace up and down. Marilise was concerned about his brother. Dean could feel it, and rightly so, but it made him blind to Azazel's sincere harmlessness, even humanity. The King of Hell had never experienced the love of a woman or a child, but Dean had, and he saw in Azazel's bearing the loss of it. "You know, threatening him won't make him talk," Dean remarked, motioning towards the Watcher leaning against a tree far enough to be out of earshot. The head resting on his one drawn-up leg, he blankly stared into the distance. "I'm trying to think of a way that will," Marilise uttered while pacing. "He has closed himself off, Marilise, and no amount of suffering you give him will make him come out, because there's nothing you could do to him that's worse." His friend stopped pacing when Dean had finished his explanation. The sudden pain and fear in Marilise's face let the man's heart stutter after the constant display of anger. "He could die, Dean. Any moment. He could be dead already, and the one help we have is waiting for the rope to pull tight. I'm powerless," he uttered distraught, finally sitting down. "All right, mate." Dean got up and inside to find a bottle of whiskey. Only Melissa was home. She was occupied with sewing, whilst the girls helped out on her parents' farm with one of her brothers once again. The house was very quiet without his two wild daughters. "How is it going, dear?" Melissa uttered between two stitches. "It's bad, my love, and time is running out." Dean knew better than to lie to his wife. Seeing the bottle, she gave him a puzzled look. "So you intend to drink yourself to death?" she asked, with a smile infecting him with her cheerful demeanor. "It's not for me, but for the two depressed angels in need of a therapist," Dean joked half-heartedly before growing serious. "I hope I find a way. Time is precious. It would kill Marilise to lose Michael." "That pompous wretch?" Melissa uttered in disbelief. "He's not that bad." He gave her a kiss before leaving again. Marilise still sat on the ground where Dean had left him. "What's that?" the devil asked. "Fine stuff, mate. Fine stuff. You take a deep one, and then I'm going to hear our other fellow too." His friend did as instructed and proceeded by having a smoke. Taking the bottle, the occultist went to the poor soul staring into the distance. "Here," he said, holding out the bottle. Azazel turned to him and studied the object before asking, "What is that?" "Medicine. Many people take it when they feel like you." Cautiously the Watcher took the whiskey, only to grimace after his first sip. Seeing the angel refusing to continue, the man urged him to go on as gently as he could. "On you go. You need it." Azazel was too astonished by Dean's involvement or too indifferent to his fate to refuse. "What are you going to do to me now?" he asked when he had emptied the bottle. His voice sounded even hollower than when Dean had first met him. "Trying to get you to help us. Lucifer will slay the Nephilim without even waiting for the first word they might utter. To them we are all criminals. Even worse," he added distraught. "Azazel, I know Marilise. He's not the kind of person to judge blindly. He's afraid for Michael, and it makes him act out in ways I wouldn't have thought possible, but I'm still here and can talk to him." Azazel looked at Dean for a moment. The blue eyes seemed to become clearer. You want me to save my jailer? He asked bitterly. They took everything from me, Dean. The one woman I loved died giving birth to my son, and he hates me for that, and for being alone all these millennia. I can't assume to know what you feel, but I would implore you to try to not push that fate onto others as well, in your anger and your grief. The last sentence seemed to stir something in the watcher, for he gazed at Merryleis lost in thought. I don't know if I can muster that compassion. I'm not brave like you or the Lightbringer. I was overwhelmed by my emotions. In the end, I'm nothing but a coward. Dean saw his two girls come running to the house as the sun was setting. Merryleis greeted them by turning into a large dog, and then into other various animals with whom they played and cuddled at once. If not for Merryleis, do it for those innocent ones on earth. When the Nephilim should decide to devastate the world again, my daughters will be the ones to suffer. Dean could hear Azazel's breath falter at the realization. Why should they do that? The watcher uttered, visibly confused by the concept of revenge. Because they remember when their parents were killed and imprisoned by the archangels. Azazel, you might be trying to solve things peacefully, but angels and Nephilim are not immune to vengeance. What if that's the reason for the killing of angels? Do you want to witness another destruction by mad Nephilim and twisted watchers? Not all of us were twisted. Enough for suffering without being guilty of any crime but loving a human being. Azazel was still staring into the distance, but the man could feel that talking was slowly dragging him out of the depths of his mind. Just as Merryleis needs to learn that not all watchers are wicked, you need to know that not all punishment is unjust. Azazel faltered when Emily and Kathleen came running towards them. Merryleis had disappeared inside the house, perhaps to help Melissa with dinner. Emily came at once to fall into Dean's arms. Hello, my little sunshine. Dean chuckled upon being showered in hugs and kisses. Are you not a prisoner no longer? Kathleen asked hopefully when she examined Azazel's free wrists. The watcher fell silent, looking at Dean, almost intimidated. The Englishman gave him a nod. Don't think so. Would have been ridiculous to imprison you for loving a woman, the blonde girl stated with satisfaction. Are you going to find your true love and be happy with her? Emily asked in the innocent, dreamy voice typical for her. Dean saw the hint of fear in Azazel's eyes as the two confronted him with his loss. He certainly will someday, but today he's our guest. Their father quickly chimed in. No, I can't, the angel objected with a frantic motion of his hands. I shouldn't. Eat with us, Azazel, the occultist implored him after getting up. Come and sit with us. See that life is far too beautiful to give it up. Azazel still stuttered, but Dean held out his hand. He didn't want to force the watcher to come. He had to come on his own, and he had to see that he had the free choice to come on his own. I'm not sure. I will wait for you, Azazel. And I will wait until I die if that's the time you need, but you have to come of your own accord. Another minute passed until Azazel decided to give it a shot. He moved uneasily towards the house with the two girls casting him curious looks, but come he did. You are the one they saved from the dungeon, I see. You do make the impression of being stolen from the scaffold, Melissa said when Azazel entered, averting his eyes from everyone in the room. Especially in Merryleis' presence he refrained from doing or saying anything. Therefore Dean let Emily and Kathleen sit left and right from the watcher. He hoped the girl's bright concept of life might influence the angel. Melissa reacted as motherly as Izanami had towards Azazel, giving him a large portion to eat. Marilise shot Dean a look of hope mingled with disapproval, yet Dean carried it off, enjoying the meal. When Melissa went to do the dishes, Marilise rolled up his sleeves to help her, casting Dean a grateful look in the process. The occultist assumed his friend had noticed the change in Azazel's demeanor and perhaps started to even take a liking to the Watcher. Azazel had grown more relaxed when everyone had minded their own plate. It was Emily again who went to the angel, who gave the impression of feeling out of place. "May I sit on your lap?" the little girl asked the Watcher, and Dean smirked because he knew the big puppy eyes his daughter could make. It was the instinct of a father that was written over Azazel's face when he picked her up. "I like your hair. Archie's hair is always too short." She obviously felt secure with the Watcher. She was careful at first, but when Azazel didn't draw back, she started braiding his hair like she often did with Marilise. The devil had needed some input, for he had not been too fond of it at first and utterly bemused. Azazel was different in that aspect. Supporting Emily's back, he made sure she wouldn't fall, for a yawn escaped her from time to time. "It's even longer than Uncle Marile's hair," she mused, yawning once again. By the time Melissa and Marilise were done with the dishes, Emily had fallen asleep. Her evenly breathing body leaned against Azazel's chest, whose eyes were glued to the little creature. "Is that what it feels like?" he asked Dean, his blue eyes mirroring his joy as well as his sorrow. "It's wonderful, isn't it?" the man returned the soft tone. "It surpasses even the heavenly light." "Come." Dean got up. "Time to bring her to bed." "You too, Kathleen." Taking his hand, his older daughter came along. Having brought Kathleen to bed, he took the blanket so Azazel could lower his human load. His movements were as smoothly gentle as they had been swiftly elegant when fighting the samurai. "Do you still want to go back to your cell?" Dean asked when the girls slept soundly in their room. "I doubt I will ever truly escape it." Resignation swung in those words, although the former heaviness had vanished for the time being. "But I will help you find Michael. I only ask you to protect the innocent." Azazel looked at Dean with his eyes displaying a somber shine. He added, "I think that's what she would have done. What she would have wanted me to do. I can live with Michael deciding that I am too dangerous for the world to be let free." "Let's not jump to conclusions just yet," the man encouraged the Watcher. He felt curiosity sneak up on him at the mention of the angel's mortal love, but he kept his peace and asked no questions. It would be a story for another day, he figured. Back in the kitchen, Marilise and Melissa sat at the table. Both greeted them with a look of expectancy. "I will help you, Lucifer. If you trust me or not, I will try to save your brother." "Thank you, Azazel." Marilise uttered in visible relief. "Where will you go?" Melissa addressed the topic before her husband could. "Mesopotamia and its gods are long forgotten by humanity, and its ruins buried by dust," Azazel explained. How he had such knowledge considering his time in Duradale, Dean didn't know, but the master of magic and strategy would understandably not share all his secrets in one day. "I might assume the Nephilim erected a realm of refuge somewhere close to a temple, and the entrance will demand verification of the presence of Nephilim blood. That's what I would do." "There are no Nephilim around," Marilise voiced his defeat. "But there is," Dean replied. "Your son, Azazel. We need his help." "He's our only chance." Azazel's voice had reverted back to the calm tone before his mental fall into the black. "That settled them." Dean wanted to follow his body's demand to lay down when Azazel continued. "One more thing," he said, holding up his index finger. We cannot fight a dozen Nephilim, especially not if they wield the weapons of the sacrificed angels. Well, what does the master strategist suggest we do about it? Merrilees asked with playful mockery in his voice. We need a vortex. Send them into another dimension without a way out. I never summoned or created one. It's a thing of myths and dreams. The occult is stated with the natural authority of someone who knew his art. But we do, mate, we do. Merrilees jumped to his feet as if it was Christmas Day. You still have the watch, right? The one we found in Mexico. Exactly, that one. What watch? Azazel interrupted the two. A watch containing the time vortex, Merrilees answered. Do you think it would work as a gateway to another realm? It needs a master of the occult to control it, but fundamentally, yes, it should make do. Good. We got the part with the master covered. Merrilees pointed at the watcher. He had found new hope in the success of Dean's efforts, and his high spirits made the man's heart leap with equal joy. Before he went to bed, Merrilees took his friend's shoulder. Well done, mate, he whispered. You got through to him where I failed. No one is perfect, that's why we have friends. He doesn't seem wicked to me, Melissa remarked when they were in bed. Dean felt sleep steal his mind away, whilst at the same time something urged him to jump to his feet and get to work. More sad, his wife still muttered, turning her head to look at him. The man kept staring at the ceiling, which kept disappearing to his tired eyes. I don't think he is, he managed to answer. Dean felt her warmth when she snuggled closer to him. He wondered what it must have been like to yearn for a woman with the knowledge that it would bring doom over the world. He often cursed his humanity in times of grief and loss, cursed himself for being unable to save his friend even after so many years. But it struck him, demons and angels, they weren't having it any easier. Their power was their prison as much as it was their pride. Dean might envy them for being all-powerful in his darkest moments, yet he was sure they longed just as much for the simple freedom of being human.